Okay, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to have you here. And we thought it would be so fun to kick off the new year with our meal planning and prep workshop, which truly, I look at it now and I'm like, oh, these are simple tips. But as we are helping women in our boot camp, you realize how those little things make a big difference. So hopefully after this, you're going to get some good nuggets of things that you can incorporate. And what I really want to encourage you to do is not look at this and be like, I have to do everything, right? I want you to make notes of the things that you thought were really helpful, but also to, at the end of this, circle, I'm going to incorporate one or two things. Because when you go crazy trying to do something different, it's really hard to stick to it. And Sindel and I will tell you that these are all things we've learned over the past 7 years as we've grown in our own wellness journey and been coaches. So I am Kate Noble. I live in Darien, Connecticut. I'm originally from North Dakota. I grew up on a farm, and now we live right outside of New York City. I'm married. We've been married for 10 years, 10 and a half years. And then I have a 4-year-old girl and just about 4 and just about 2 years old. So little toddlers, the phase of I don't want to eat anything, super picky. But I was that person as a kid, and even into adulthood, I've been the pickiest eater. And it's crazy. Once you start on your wellness journey, how you can grow to love, you turn to loving food that is good for your body because you realize how good it makes you feel. And so if you're a picky eater and you feel like you really struggle, I get you, but I promise it can change. Your palate can change. So we're both, Sindel will introduce herself a little bit too, but we're both certified nutrition mentors, wellness coaches, and then we're also business mentors. We help other women get started doing what we do as well. Just people that are on their wellness journey, wanting to make a difference and pay it forward. That is us. We started just as clients and using these, some of the products that use. But we're not really going to talk too much about products tonight. We're going to just share tips. So to really get started, like I said, I was a very picky eater. I remember when I first started my wellness journey, or beforehand, I remember a coach posting what is, or talking about clean eating, and I was like, what is clean eating? So you guys, I literally started from zero. I'm embarrassed to say that I had no idea what clean eating was. This was a long time ago. It wasn't it was when the low sugar, no fat was all popular craze. Diet Coke's so good. I drank 10 a day. And I remember Googling what is clean eating, and I remember that point. And that's when I started learning. So these are building blocks, right? You're going to find things that work for you and grow in your own plan. But when you're really getting started, and what you're going to expect to hear from us tonight, we're going to talk to you about creating a routine, how to prep like a boss, some budget-friendly tips, hubby and kid-approved tips, how to keep it healthy, right? Because you can create a meal plan that isn't healthy too. I mean, you do you, right? But we just know how good you feel when you're putting good food into your body. And it's easier to stay healthy when you're planning and prepping. And then we have some free resources. I don't have a slide for this, but we will send those out. If you registered for this meeting, we have your email address. We'll be sending those free resources, planning tools to your email after this call, probably tomorrow once the recording is up. Okay, so creating a routine. My meal planning routine is a 3-day process. And so that might sound really long, but it's not. 3 days is like a breath of fresh air to me. I do different things on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Friday is my planning day. And my life isn't perfect. I don't always do this, right? But this is like the routine that works. And when I am eating good and I'm on a plan, this is what the habit you want to get into. But life is crazy and sometimes it doesn't happen. But this is your ideal, right? Friday, you're going to plan. Usually, I send out meal plans to my clients on Fridays. I think Symbol does too. Even if you're probably now on my email list, you'll get some meal plan tips and ideas too. So that's why Friday is a big day and why we send those on Friday, because you should be planning on Friday. What do I want to eat this week, right? So when you're planning, the first question you ask, and this seems basic, but is who? Who are you cooking for, right? And then when? What's on your calendar? What days do you actually have to meal prep? What days are like, yes, I don't have to cook anything. My life is great. I love that. And then where, unless you like to cook. Where will you be for each of your meals? And you guys, we're in COVID world right now, so this looks a little different, but it's still something you want to know, right? Where are you going to be? Your office, your car, if you're traveling, at a restaurant, where will you be eating? And so when you look at this next slide, and you're going to get this template, this is just an idea of what my calendar could look like, right? Now Brennan isn't traveling, but I wanted to include these things because we will go back to normal. We will go back to normal. I keep telling myself that, right? And I live in that. I have to think that. We will. I know we will. It's all good. So Mondays and Wednesdays are my work days. So I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I'm also a full-time coach. And so I've been blessed with being able to have a babysitter on Monday and Wednesday mornings to work my business. And so I have breakfast, the luxury of breakfast outside of my house. I probably could cook it, but I choose not to because I don't want to. And then Sunday, we usually, normal world, would have brunch right after church. It was a family tradition, which we will get back. Dinner on Tuesday night. Brendan normally travels a lot for work, so that I'm putting in because he's not going to be there that night. So I can make something that like he really wouldn't like and is super delicious to me. And then Saturday is date night. Now I would say today, Friday, we always order like pizza. It's like pizza night, Friday nights. But this is like what my old normal world would be. So I put those in so that I'm aware. That's the first thing I do. So I know what days I don't have to fill out. So then I'm going to pick my meals. Here are a few tips, especially if you're first starting out. The less complicated it is, the less stress it's going to be on you. I love easy recipes with few ingredients. And then the other tip is to create a go-to dinner list. And as you are growing in like your health and wellness, or maybe you're already there, you have recipes that you love, print those out or save them. Another really good tip, screenshot them or like put in your notes, but screenshot. I love to do this. And then I create an album in my phone, like would be like dinner recipes, and it's a picture. And then all I have to do is like go through my dinner recipes albums and be like, oh, I want to make this and this and this. Because otherwise you start to forget. And it's the things that you've tried and that taste good. Don't add them until you've tried them and they taste good. Otherwise it's like too much. Another way to make it easy is like I drink Shakeology every day. Now it's my breakfast. Sometimes it's my snack, but like I love being able to write that in because it's like the same every week. Shakeology with a banana and almond milk and a little bit of PB2, and it tastes like dessert. And it fuels me good. So those are things that you can easily put in if you're using those. And then another tip that I like to give, because this changed my world in meal planning, when if you are doing one of our boot camps, you're familiar with the Ultimate Portion Fix, and we use these little containers which make it super easy to know what you should and shouldn't be eating, or how much, I should say, not what you should and shouldn't, because you can have pizza, you can have wine, but these containers can be really complicated, at least for people like me, when you're like, oh, it's like math. I don't mind math, but like I'm just like too old for that right now. So it's like a puzzle, you're trying to figure it all out. Use the same containers at each meal. So what I mean is, for breakfast, have it set. So like every breakfast, every day of the week, except for maybe your weekends, you have a red container, a green container, what else do I have? A yellow container and a teaspoon. And that can be eggs, 2 eggs, a slice of toast, peanut butter, and then I put spinach and tomato in my eggs. So that stays the same. So then I'm at my lunch, I'm always having this group of containers. My snack is always a blue and a green. So it's easier to fill in based on that and then adjust later. So if you know you're gonna have pizza Friday night, you can take a yellow container out from earlier in the day, right? Whatever that might be. So have those same containers at each meal. That changed my world. It seems so easy, but yeah, love it. Okay, so now you can see how I've filled it in, and there's kind of some color coding, and this is kind of where it can get complicated, but stick with me, okay? Stick with me right now. Okay, so the first things that I filled out, or you'll see in pink, I gotta put my camera up so I can see too. These are the days, remember, that I'm eating out. I'm still putting what I'm gonna eat on my meal plan because it matters. I wanna stay on track, and if I plan it before I go, I stay on track, right? So I put those in. I put in this, the pink was the things from before. I also put in my salmon and veggie option. That's usually what I order when I go out for dinner, is like the fish and veggies, unless it's like the meal that I decide to splurge on. It just depends. But I put those in so that I'm already aware when I go, I've made the decision. I'm not going to go off and, make it a fried chicken, buffalo chicken sandwich with all the French fries and ranch dressing. Because that's really easy to do when you're out and about. The other things I want you to look at, so you can see my breakfast, I put on there what they're going to be. I've added my Shakeology in because I know those. I have a very boring meal plan normally. I like to have similar things each week or each day, right? Because it makes my life easy. And honestly, you come to a point in your life when food is fuel, right? It can taste good. It doesn't get boring. And then maybe if a week or 2 weeks later, I'll change it and I'll do something different. But I find what I like and I stick with it. So what I want you to look at is this first Sunday. 2 eggs, spinach, and tomatoes. Prep next week, right? So Sunday morning, when I'm making breakfast, if I make breakfast, right, that day, I make a big batch. Like, I make it for what I'm going to eat that morning, but I also add in a ton of extra for the rest of this week where I needed it for Tuesday and Wednesday. So that the eggs and the spinach and tomato are done. And so I just heat it up. It's easy, right? So then my breakfasts are already prepped just because I made my own breakfast on Sunday morning. The other thing I want you to look at is right down here, the steak and roasted vegetables and sweet potatoes. Right here, I put a regular potato in for Brennan because he's not as big of a sweet potato fan for me, to me. But I circled this in pink because that's another opportunity. I'm making vegetables and sweet potato for me to just cut up some extra, roast some more sweet potatoes, and then I can use those for my lunches on Monday and Wednesday. So look at this, like just because of those 2 meals that I made on Sunday, my breakfasts are done for up to Thursday. And then my lunches are almost done, right? I have Monday and Wednesday. Then if you look at Monday night, I will cook that night. I will cook because I'm like in the mood, right? It's like the beginning of the week. I'm not tired yet. I'll make my chicken fajita burrito and I'll just make extra. And then I use that Tuesday and Wednesday. But I've planned it because I knew I was making that meal on Monday night. I knew I'd have it for Tuesday and Thursday. Well, and then the same with the beanless chili. Usually this I'll make in advance Sunday. So I'll probably just make the chili in advance on Sunday, but I have it in there. But like, look at all of my lunches are done then, right? So easy. And then the other thing I circled here in pink, this is a family-friendly tip, like spaghetti squash with turkey sausage and marinara sauce. Even though Brennan says, like, I remember him saying, wow, this spaghetti squash is really good. For some reason now today, he's like, I don't like spaghetti squash. So it's super easy for me to just throw in noodles from him And for the girls, because I will have them try it, but they're not gonna like eat that and fill up. And I want them to have spaghetti. So I'll just add that. That's one extra thing to do. So that the regular potato over here for Brennan, and that modified, and it worked out well. And then I've added in my Shakeology for snacks over here. And then I always add my workouts in at the bottom. So now that you've went through that whole thing and you're like, oh great, thanks. Hopefully you got a few tips out of there. It seems like a lot, but once you're putting your plan together, if you realize how much you can do on Sunday, it makes it easy. The other thing that is so important is Saturday you shop. Don't wait till Sunday to shop. Unless you're shopping online and your meal or your food is delivered Sunday morning, because then you can prep on Sunday. If you split it up into 3 days, it makes it so much easier. It's less overwhelming. The other tip I have, create a master grocery list, the things that you always have on hand. Then you add the extras to it, and then you go shopping. But like my always list or my master list, this is what's on it. Every week I order the same thing. And then based on what I'm going to have extra, like if I was going to do the fajita bowls, I need to add peppers on there, right? Because there's no peppers on there regularly. So you have the always list to make it easy. And then this will be the grocery list template that you'll all get. Okay. Then prep is the work. This is where you have to change your Sunday mindset. Most people are like, I just don't have the time to prep on Sunday. Like, I just want to have family time. Well, you can still have family time. Include your kids in the process. And I promise you, during the week, you're going to have better family time because you prepped on Sunday too. Because you're not crazy mom. I've been there where it's like, what are we gonna have for dinner? I don't want to cook. And then it just puts you in it can put you in a negative attitude sometimes, right? Where you just like don't want to cook, or you just grab things that aren't as good. And it's easier to not have like that family meal if you do family meals when you're just kind of like grabbing for everybody. So decide what you can make in advance, change your mindset on meal planning. This gives you power. Meal planning gives you power. It's not an added task. It is something that makes your life better, right? It gives you more time during the week. And then prep your dinner ingredients. The things that I like to do, chop the vegetables. I love portioning out the meats, especially chicken, because I hate touching chicken. I'd rather just touch it once. So I'll portion it out for each meal. So all I have to do is drop in that specific bag of chicken, and I don't have to touch it and like, blah. I just don't like chicken for some reason before it's cooked. I love it after. Pre-bake some of the ingredients like the sweet potatoes, some of the chicken. If you're doing it on salads or something, you can pre-bake all of that too. Even for dinners, you can pre-bake that, or the ground beef for the beanless chili. And I'm realizing I already went through all of this, right? So here, breakfast, I did that Sunday. Lunches, I'd roast some chicken, but I will be doing that. I could probably just do that with my vegetables, put some chicken on a plate with the sweet potatoes, roast it. That's what I'm going to do on Sunday. I could make the beanless chili pretty easily, separate out the turkey meat for Thursday and Friday, chop all my fajita vegetables, and cut the chicken for the fajita so it can freshly go in, and then create my veggie stack bags. This is all I have to do on Sunday. And since I'm doing it while I'm making meals for that week, it makes it, or for that Sunday, it makes it easy. The things I love to use are the bento meal prep containers. I can't tell you enough how much when I was just had a new baby, to be able to pull out a meal, put it in a microwave, and it'd be hot, and like have something to eat that like wasn't just grabbing something. It was so worth the time on Sunday to like have a meal for myself. A veggie food chopper. I love the glass containers. Everything reheats better. I feel like in glass, it's better for you. The spiralizer, love that for like the zucchini noodles. You can do that with carrots. You can do that with sweet potatoes. So much stuff. It just makes your noodle dishes maybe a little more healthy. Instapot, the air fryer I have not used, but people rave about it. A slow cooker. Cyndall turned me on to the Instapot, cooking my sweet potatoes in there, chicken in there. It's so much easier and quicker and like less cleanup, I feel like. And then obviously Ziploc or reusable babies. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Sindel.
Hey guys, I'm just going to introduce myself just a bit here before I dive in. So, like Kate said, we've been doing this for a while. So, really take it all in and pick a few things that you're going to implement, and you're going to get a recording of this. So, a month from now, if you're like, hey, I want to go back and re listen and implement a few more things, awesome, do that. But we've been doing it for a while, so it is really easy for us to forget how hard this sometimes is. And I have been the one that has been like on the bandwagon and fallen off the bandwagon and back on the bandwagon and fallen off the bandwagon. And I can promise you, your life is so much better once you figure out meal planning and prep. Like, it makes it so much easier. Like I said earlier, you guys, I'm expecting baby number 5 right now. So I have 4 kids that ranges from almost 4 years old to almost 11 years old. Like, it's kind of crazy. My house is nonstop chaos. My kids are very involved in things. So like, we are just on the go nonstop. And my husband farms. I'm from this small town in North Dakota. Kate and I actually grew up together. And as a farmer's wife, I always joke that I'm a terrible farmer's wife because I have an amazing mother-in-law who is like, she still will like take my husband lunches out in the field, like so good, which there's part of me that's like, if I was forced to do that, maybe I would have picked up meal planning and figuring this all out earlier than after baby number 3, you guys, because that's how long it took me. I was into baby number 3, jumped into my first boot camp group. And I remember standing in my kitchen at one point being like, I have nothing to feed my kids. Like, we were living on frozen pizza. Like, we were totally the family that were living on anything that was just quick, easy, simple. I didn't grow up in a household where we did a lot of cooking or anything like that. My mom was not a cooker. And even to this day, you guys, my husband loves cooking and he's really good at it. But that was the lifestyle he was brought up in. Like, he grew up in the kitchen with his mom. He was the youngest of 4 boys. And he was the one that could also bake. And like, he loves this stuff, but he's never home. So I had to figure this stuff out. And he obviously doesn't complain too much because truly we lived on frozen pizza forever, for years, until I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. This is not good for me. This is not good for my kids. I have to figure this out. And once you figure out meal planning, like, it truly does just make your life so much easier. But I think everybody goes into this thinking, especially when you think of the healthy part of it, that this is going to break the bank, right? That you're like, I cannot afford to do this because let's face it, like, why is cheap, crappy food, like, why is it actually cheap? Like, I will never understand that, because truly you can buy a frozen pizza. And if you're my husband, he loves Jack pizzas. I absolutely despise them, but you can get them for like $2 at Menards, which is insane, you guys. And I'm like, why? Like, it's just crazy how much crappy food, it's cheap. And so we sometimes go into this with this mentality that if I'm going to get good, fresh produce, it's going to break my bank. And it doesn't have to. And this is stuff that we have learned and picked up over the years, especially when you live in an area like I do, a small rural town where it's an hour to go to a bigger sized town. So we have small little grocery stores that honestly don't always have the best stuff. So what you have to do is pick seasonal. Okay. You have to buy the stuff that is going to be the best for you. Go to the produce section, you guys. I promise a lot of times they have sales on things, but get creative and look at your things and go, okay, what can I make off of knowing what seasonal veggies are in right now? And I know, like, my grocery store, you're never going to find like a summer type squash. Like, you just won't. Like, that just stuff does not come in unless it truly is seasonal. So I know, like, those times of the years we're just making so much. Or if you put in a garden, during the summer, awesome, do that. But also make sure you're using up what's on hand, because a lot of times when we make a meal plan, we think we have to go in and be like, I have to like do everything new, right? Instead, if you actually go into your pantry and your freezer and you realize, oh, hey, I have whole chickens that need to be roasted or whatever, use up those things. When you're making your meal plan, don't feel like you need to go to Pinterest, right, and pin every recipe that you see and you're like, oh, this looks good and this looks good. figure out what you have on hand, because I know for us, like when we have a cow butcher, like we get a quarter of a cow. Like that's what we do. So we have a lot of beef right now. And right now we also have a lot of deer because hunting season just passed. And so like we have a lot of those type of things. So I know I have to make sure that I'm using up the things that are on hand, or it's really easy to go over your budget if you're just like thinking you need more and more and more. And let's face it, you guys, when we go into the grocery store and we're like, I need all these veggies and all these things, a lot of times it goes to waste then. So if you're using up what you have on hand and making sure your recipes also fit that, you're not going to break the bank and you're not going to let more and more food go to waste. The other thing is, do not make 3 meals, okay? Kate showed you some really good tips on how to make really easy switches, right? Spaghetti squash versus spaghetti. That's something simple, right? You can easily sub those things out. Do not feel like you need, oh, we got a little one down here. I was wondering when they'd start heading down. Do not feel like you need to be making 3 meals for your family. Make sure that you can adapt the meals, but don't make it this priority that you need to be making 3 different things for everybody. Here, you go with daddy. We'll see you later. Night, babes. Okay, leftovers. I don't know about you, but I used to be one. I hated leftovers. I hated the thought of leftovers. When they ask you if you like wanted, like at the restaurant, and they're like, do you want a to-go box? I'd be like, no, like we would never reheat the thing. So I was like, what is the point? We always bring these leftovers home and then we never eat them. This is so silly. Once I got into meal planning and realizing, oh, if I make a big meal, then like Kate showed you, I can eat this stuff for lunch. And when you have a little one and newborns and toddlers that are running around like crazy, you guys, leftovers will save you. Like they totally will. So make sure you're using those things up, but also recreate them. And something I love doing, like if we ever have leftover chicken, I am making chicken noodle soup, right? Like I love being able to take something and recreate a whole different meal out of just the leftovers. And I also like to buy in bulk because buying in bulk is going to save you money. Okay, obviously you need to have the freezer space and everything, but I like being able to make a Costco run and buy quite a bit of stuff and know that my freezer is stocked, or I have certain things that are going to last for a longer period of time. So I also don't have to be thinking about, okay, my long list for groceries has to be this huge long list every week when I know I have these bulk items on hand the majority of time. So we tend to make like a Costco run about every 2 months. I would say we usually make a bigger Costco run. And then when you're buying in bulk, you guys, don't fear the frozen stuff. Truly, they're just as nutritious. You do need to make sure you are actually reading the ingredients. Make sure it is, just frozen strawberries or just frozen peas or whatever it is. But frozen does not mean bad. And when you live in an area like I do, it is necessity, really, truly is what it is. So make sure that you are just being creative and going into this going, okay, I know what my budget's set. How can I tweak a few things without breaking the bank? All right, the next things I'm going to share with you guys is kid and husband friendly tips. Okay. All right. Show hands real quick. I can see a few of you here. Who has a picky eater at home? Kate talked about her picky eating experiences. Anybody have a picky eater, either a hubby or a kid? Got a couple hands raised. Yeah. Okay. As I said, my husband is like so easygoing, you guys. Like I totally lucked out. At our house, I have one child that thinks that he wants to be picky, and he nonstop is told, no, you don't get to be picky. I did not grow up being a picky eater, but I grew up in a household that we ate like tuna noodle casserole. I think that was truly the only supper I knew how to make when I got married. I'm not even kidding you guys. Like that was probably the only thing. I also knew how to make French toast. I don't think I knew how to make pancakes, but like box mac and cheese, like box hamburger helper, like that's what I grew up on. Like that was how we cook things. And I don't think I was not one that was ever picky, but I didn't enjoy cooking. And still to this day, I don't enjoy doing it. So when I'm going, hey, I'm putting into a meal, I kind of had this expectation that my kids are going to sit down and eat that. So here's what we've implemented a few things to help with that process, because I know there are people that are picky, that it is hard, right? It is hard to make them, and not even make them, but just get them to want to try things. So you can totally dissect your meals out for your kids, meaning you can add a little bit of extra things in that you know they like. So for example, if you're doing a huge pan of roasted, let's go with Brussels sprouts, because Brussels sprouts used to be something that my kids ate really well, and now they've decided they don't like them. Well, I still love Brussels sprouts. So I know, hey, I want to make roasted Brussels sprouts, but I know they're not going to love them. I'm also going to add sweet potatoes in. I'm going to add in broccoli. I'm going to make a huge pan of just tons of roasted veggies. So it gives them options, but I'm also going to add in some potatoes, all right? Some diced up potatoes, because I know my husband loves those things. So you can dissect and add in extras and little things that aren't going to take up more time, because that's what you have to think about when you want to add in those extra things is it going to cost me more time? Because if it's going to cost me more time, it's not happening. That's just all there is to it, because I don't enjoy the cooking process. And then allow your kids to serve themselves. I find that if you allow them to actually go and pick out, like if you have a roasted pan of veggies, let them go and pick out their veggies. And granted, when I have Brussels sprouts on a pan, I do tell all my kids, you all have to take one. And they usually complain now. They didn't used to. Like, I feel like they get older and they complain more, but they didn't used to complain about it. But I make sure that they are picking things, but also I'm telling them, hey, you do need to take certain things. But usually they will eat the things that they picked up themselves a lot easier. And then having things out for snacking on, I think is really good, especially if you're like making a meal. I mean, how many people have kids that are like, I want a snack, I want a snack. I constantly am hearing, I want a snack in my house. So if you have fruit and veggie platters, which I picked up the great tip from Kate, like she buys a fruit and veggie platter every week, you guys. And she jokes, which you didn't joke tonight, but usually you joke about how you're like, I probably would save money by not doing that, but it's just easier, right? And I now do that. And I cannot believe how just setting that stuff out before a meal, I know they're getting something healthy, and I don't mind them snacking on a veggie platter right before we eat. I know it's not going to technically probably ruin their supper. Whereas if my son would get into a bag of bread, oh my gosh, you guys, I have like this 8-year-old that like he would eat an entire loaf of bread if you let him. So that type of stuff totally ruins the supper. But if he's sitting down with some carrots, that's probably not going to be too big of a deal. Okay. Also, when you are doing your meal planning, you guys, if you include your family and you let them pick some of the meals that they're going to be having that week, they're going to be more likely to go, hey, I want to eat this. Also, make sure they're helping you with all of it. Like I said, like the difference between my husband and I, mostly in just our like for being in the kitchen, is really truly how we were raised. Like he was raised with a mom that like she was in the kitchen and it was an expectation that he got to help right alongside her, and he enjoyed doing it. Whereas that just never happened for me. So I didn't grow up with this habit of being in the kitchen and making it this family thing. Because if you're worried about family time and you're like, hey, we don't get enough family time in, make these activities family inclusive. And then this is my best tip, you guys, the 3-bite rule. This is also the tip that I think my kids probably dislike the most, but we have a 3-bite rule in our house. So that means if they have something on their plate and they tell me I don't like it, I'm like, oh man, that really stinks. You still have to have 3 bites of it. No matter what it is. So unless it's something I know they truly hate and they've tried multiple times, like for example, my 8-year-old, he's never liked chili. It's like one of those things, he's just never liked it. He didn't even like it like when he was an infant, when I would try like giving him bites of chili. Or my daughter absolutely despises like the raviolis or like the tortellinis, which I'm like, you're crazy. Who doesn't like tortellini, right? Especially with some Alfredo sauce, she hates tortellini. So there's certain things that I'm like, ugh. But even actually we had tortellini 2 nights ago and I still made her try a bite because she was like, Mom, you know I don't like this. And I'm like, try a bite, see if you change your mind, because your taste buds do change, you guys. So I think if you tell your children, hey, you do have to have 3 bites of this, almost always, you guys, they usually end up eating the whole thing. They're like, oh, this isn't that bad. Or by bite 3, they forget that they told you they disliked it. And they're like, fine, I'll eat it, whatever. It's not worth the argument. Okay, now here are some healthy tips. And like Kate said, you guys, you can make your meal plan however you want, right? It can be as healthy as you want it to be. It can be as unhealthy as you want it to be. But here's some tips that we have learned over the last multiple years of coaching people through just healthy eating and what we find to like work really well for ourselves. And I will tell you right now, with just being pregnant, it's like kind of a free for all at my house. But I always have like my bubbly water. Okay. So water first is our first thing we have right in here. And this stuff, you guys, is helping settle my tummy a little bit. I love having a carbonated water. So that's stuff that I always have on hand. So if you go into thinking about like clean eating, truly, if you go, okay, if I make sure I'm getting my water in first, right? I want to make sure you're hitting that goal, which really truly should be about half your body weight in ounces of a day. If you're getting that water in first and then you're saying, hey, I'm going to have veggies most, veggies are going to be your main thing on your plate. You guys, that like right there totally will change your game. So even if the only thing you take from this, you guys, if you're like, okay, I know I want to eat healthier, those meal planning tips and everything was great, but the only thing you take from this is I need to make sure I'm drinking my water every single day, and I need to make sure that veggies are the main thing on my plate every single meal. I promised you, it's just going to change the game. You will instantly become healthier. And these are two things that we started implementing that were a total game changer for me, because I think a lot of times, especially if you grew up in the Midwest like me and Kate, I mean, it was meat and potatoes and your meat covered 3/4 of your plate, right? Like that's, I think, how a lot of people think, is we need to have this huge high protein diet, when really veggies are the most filling, they have the most fiber, and they are also usually the most nutritionally dense things that we can put on our plate. So if you do water first, veggie most, it's going to totally change the game. And more of the same, like Kate said, a lot of times her meal plan, it looks the exact same for a couple weeks, and then she might switch it up, right? But you'll find people that tend to be just healthy, they usually eat a lot of the same stuff. So we tend to be a little bit more boring, and that's okay. We throw new recipes in, we do try new things here and there, but for the most part, we know what we like. We know what makes us feel good. And that's what we base it off of. We go, okay, I like this particular meal. It's easy to make, and I know it doesn't upset my tummy. I feel good. I have lots of energy. That's what I'm going to do. Tracking will also be a game changer for you. I think a lot of times we don't realize how much snacking and different things that we just do throughout the day. So when you track what you're eating, like every bite, every sip, you guys, like sometimes it's an eye opener. I mean, hello, who is guilty of like opening a bag of Oreos and going, well, that whole sleeve is gone all of a sudden, and you don't even know where it went, right? Like you didn't even enjoy it because you just inhaled it. Been there, done that so many times. So make sure you're tracking what you're doing. If you feel like this is something you're struggling with, start writing it down, and don't buy the temptations. There is a reason that Oreos are not allowed in my house, you guys, because I will inhale the entire package. It just happens. I don't know why. It just does. There's something that's just like, it's off limits. It is off limits in my house. And I want to say, Kate, it's Reese's for you, isn't it? Yes. So see, we all have temptations. So please don't look at us going, oh, these girls got it together. They're not tempted by anything. Oh my goodness, you guys. I also love that like Sundays after church, if my kids behave well, we get to do donuts. And it used to be that we bought like a dozen or two of donuts, right? And now I'm like, everybody gets one. We are only picking one. We get 6 donuts. That's it. We don't need to have this abundance. But just don't buy the temptations, you guys. It really will help so much. And then make sure that when you do decide to indulge, or how do I want to put this? Make sure you're trying to switch your mindset on what indulging actually is. Okay? Because sometimes when we think indulging, we think, I'm going to just totally dive in. I'm stuck on Oreos right now, guys, so that's where I'm going here. I'm going to dive into the package of Oreos, right? And that's going to be this huge indulgence, and I'm going to treat myself, right? Like YOLO, that's just how it is. You guys, when we start looking at indulging as, I'm going to take a bubble bath, and I'm going to read a good book, and I'm maybe going to watch like that Netflix show that I haven't gotten to watch. Like when we start changing our ways of like indulging and treating ourselves away from food, that health concept, it starts switching in your head. You start realizing that food is truly that fuel for you, right? It's not just a treat. It's not just this thing that we are just living for, right? Truly, food is there for us in order to live. And what is the saying? I don't eat to live, I live to eat type thing. We have to switch that, right? Like we're not here just so we can eat our way through our lives. It's fuel, right? The food is there for fuel. And then grocery shop online, like Kate said, we're pandemic. That is like how it is. So I think a lot of people have realized like grocery shopping online is the way to go. I was doing this pre-pandemic, and my father-in-law made fun of me. He was like, are you serious? You are totally capable of walking into the grocery store. And I'm like, and you try grocery shopping with 4 kids. It is not fun. It is so not fun, you guys. And honestly, let's like face it. It's not fun grocery shopping with one toddler, right? Like, let's be real. Let's be totally real. I don't know how many of you guys have toddlers, but, or 4-year-old, like, especially when they're like on a rampage and they are like, they don't give up, right? Like, they do not give up. I feel like once your kids hit like 6, 7, they kind of have a little bit of rationale and you can tell them no and you can talk them down. You cannot do that to a toddler. It is torture. So, mamas, go get your groceries online. And let's face it, when I'm not at the grocery store, I'm not tempted by all the other things. So I can actually stick to my list when I grocery shop online. Kate also gave the tip about Shakeology. I also am one of them drinking Shakeology daily. I am so thankful that this pregnancy, I've actually been able to tolerate it because my last ones, I've had to cut it out. I just have not been able to tolerate it until about 20 weeks. This one, it actually settles my stomach. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing because I love it. I love my chocolate Shakeology. And then also, if you have a nutrition program that you're following, like actually dive into it, really embrace it. And if you're doing any of our boot camps, more than likely, you guys probably have access to a nutritional program, and then getting support obviously is key. If you are struggling, if you're like, I am on the struggle bus, I need to make changes, dude, go get yourself a coach, right? Be in a boot camp, get some support. And I promise it just makes it so much better. Nobody wants to struggle through this by themselves. So having support and somebody there to like help you out, it'll be a game changer. Okay, so talking about support, I know Kate's boot camp, you start next week, right, Kate? You go to unmute yourself if you want.
Yes, we are starting. So we have some of you on here. This is also the kickoff call for our 9-week Control Freak group. So we're going to chat just a little bit after this. But I also have a boot camp. It's a new you year, which kicks off on Monday. And then
my group started this Monday, but anybody that's going to be on here that are my gals, you're still welcome to jump in. Like, there's no cutoff for both of us. We like you to start by day 1, but like, let's face it, if you're ready mid-month, we're going to get you into a group so you can get that support. Do you want me to cover these? I can't remember.
I can. It doesn't matter. So if you are, I'm not sure how many, if you are a graduate or in one of our current boot camps, just put that in here so you can get an idea of who is going to be kind of staying on with us afterwards for just a few minutes. But if you are not and you're like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this, what does it pertain to? How much is it? Where you can kind of, I mean, this is just like a little bit, right, of what we kind of do in our group boot camps. What you can do is hop into like these January boot camps. This first package up in the upper left-hand side, what's been bad? Anyways, okay, the upper left-hand side is $160. You guys, this is an awesome deal because it's for an entire year. If you need also a fitness program to go with it, because you get access to all of Beachbody On Demand's workout programs. There's like 1,000 plus workouts on there. But what I love about Beachbody is it's an actual programs in there. So you have a day 1 and you have a day 2, 3. And so you stick to a routine and you're actually getting a full body workout. And there's so many different programs. The thing that like why this is so like awesome right now is now all of the packages come with the 2 full nutrition plans that Beachbody has created. I should say that there's a nutrition dietitian has created, and then Autumn Calabrese. I don't know what her like title is, but she created the Ultimate Portion Fix. And so you can see that here. These are like courses in nutrition, very deep dive that are so powerful. And that's what Cyndall and I are both certified in. But you get access to all of that for life too. So you get the nutrition plan for life, Beachbody On Demand for life. And then you get a choice. You can choose Shakeology or Energize and Recover to add into that as well for 30 days. So it's a really awesome deal because, I mean, 1 year of Beachbody On Demand, and then the nutrition programs for life.
And just to give you guys a reference, if you're looking at this price and you're like, well, a little sticker shocked, if this is like totally brand new to you, when Kate and I first started doing Beachbody programs, we got a bag of Shakeology, you guys, and access to one program for $140.
Yeah.
One, you guys, and mine was 21 Day Fix. What was your first program?
I think the first one was Core to Force, but the first one I actually did was PIO. So.
Oh yes, I forgot you loved PIO. You guys, like, I'm just gonna tell you about 21 Day. You guys, 21 Day Fix, the original 21 Day Fix was 7 workouts, and you repeated the same week for 3 weeks. That was 21 Day Fix for $140. It was on DVDs. My kids scratched the crap out of the DVDs. I have no idea where they are now. Like, this is amazing. And you get access to this. Like, you can take this anywhere you go. I have done so many workouts on the road traveling. Like, it is so easy. You can do this via your phone, via your iPad. Like, Beachbody On Demand is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So just to give you an idea, because I remember being sticker shock, like, what am I buying? And now I'm like, there's so much value here. And I don't know if I told you guys, I'm a nurse. So like, these nutrition programs are so much better than any of the nutrition courses I took in college. And I took extra nutrition courses in college because it just fascinated me. I thought food was just amazing and how it could fuel you. These are so much better than any class I ever paid for in college. So much better. And you're getting it for $160. I promise you I paid way more for a college credit than that.
It's crazy. The other option, you can add on 9-week Control Freak, which is the brand new program that a lot of us are doing. And you can hop into our second wave, which will be starting probably in February. You can start it right away too. But that's the newest program that just came out from Autumn. So it's a test group. But the like big perk is you get access to a coach with that, someone who actually holds you accountable, and a group where you get connected to other women on that same journey. And I tried so many things alone and I failed at all of them because I quit. This is the first thing. My journey has not been perfect, but I have not quit, right? You have your ups and downs. And so it's so nice to have that accountability factor that goes into it. So those are your options. And then that's all we have tonight. Is there any questions? Let's see.
Got some 9-week Control Freak ladies. Yay. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I actually did yesterday's workout